In 1854, America was poised to build a railroad across the continent, west of the Kansas Territory. Whether that railroad would pass through a Kansas Free State or a Kansas Slave State was a question Americans North and South were now ready to settle with blood. The Kansas-Nebraska bill passed by Congress declared that whoever settled Kansas could choose slavery or freedom for the new state.
To a lot of Northerners, their conception of the future of the West was held together by this geographical guarantee that slavery could never exist above the 3630 parallel. The Kansas-Nebraska Act now in 1854 erases that 34-year-old vow, which had the sanction of the Constitution. It now meant that the settlement of this vast territory of the West and the Northwest was open to slavery. It was open to the possibility of 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 new slave states.
From northern states, thousands of pioneers set out to settle Kansas. The New England Immigrant Aid Company financed the settlement of entire villages. In Brooklyn, New York, abolitionist preacher Henry Ward Beecher raised funds to give rifles to the Free Soil settlers. From Missouri, Georgia, and other southern states, white settlers came to Kansas armed to the teeth for the slavery cause.
If Kansas is not made a slave state, it requires no sage to tell that without some very extraordinary revolution, there will never be another slave state. The Sovereign Squatter newspaper, Kansas, 1856.
But most Northerners who came to the plains did not want to end slavery nationwide. They simply did not want to compete with it in Kansas, and they didn't want to work alongside black people, slave or free. Their movement was called Free Soil. Free soil meant free states for free white men.
Is the future of America going to be America as white man's country, or America as a country in which there are multiple races? One of the ways you can ensure that America is, in the future, white man's country is to make sure that that West was as white as possible, as free as possible from blacks, whether these blacks were slave or whether these blacks were free.
Settlers who only came hoping to build farms discovered they were homesteading a battlefield. Two opposing territorial governments emerged on the plains, one pro-slavery, the other free soil. Each government outlawed the other, and both pushed to exclude free African Americans.
Cousin Sidney, we heard that 5 men had been killed